going to go through some charts that are mainly grade 1 and 2. I think there's a couple in here that might reach into the 3, but for the most part, for me, like, beginner, closer to beginner, I lived so many years in, I was doing our second jazz band, and there was another director who was doing our first jazz band. So I had the band that had 17 saxophones, 11 of them were broken tenors, and any kid who could play anything was in the top band. It was like one of those situations, and so my heart is really there for these charts that just work when your students are not super experienced. So a number of these you've put in, and some of them I've put in as well. So first, I just want to mention 3 charts that you have on here that we won't be able to play for people. So people should write these down or check them out. And I'm going to just ask for your sort of couple cents on each one, if you don't mind. First one is arranged by Terry White, friend of the show and friend of mine. Blues March, the great Benny Golson tune.
Yeah, it's written in B flat blues. So it's like that's the key that I kind of have everybody start improvising on. So that's a great chart. I also talk about to band directors, always referring to the original recordings. A lot of times with the upper school groups or the higher level groups, I'm playing original transcriptions or, arrangements of whoever it is, Duke Ellington, whatever it may be. When we're dealing with younger groups, it's, obviously it's a little more difficult to play those kind of authentic charts. So, we turn to authentic repertoire. Blues March is part of the jazz canon, that was written by the great tenor saxophonist Benny Golson, that was made famous with Art Blakey, the band that he had with Lee Morgan, Jimmy Merritt. So we listened to that recording before we even listened to this arrangement of Terry White's arrangement, which is a great arrangement. There are some notes in the melody that are different than the record. And I'll either point that out or see if they can figure that out, because we really do listen to the original, quite a bit. And the beginning, original is classic because Art Blakey plays kind of like a march style drum solo.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, and he leaves the band with a yup up, yup up, yup up, and then it's just to do, and even so, like we're talking about swing. This is swing, but it's a different kind of swing. It's like a straight march thing happening. It goes in between. There's a lot of little dynamic things that you can use and really kind of get in the sound of the Art Blakey and the Jazz Messengers. It's a great vehicle in that way. So a lot of times I will actually not use Terry's intro and just have the drummer do that, do the introduction. And then I make sure also that we're actually playing the melody as it is on the record. There's a couple notes that are a little funky. And it's also a great way for them to really improvise, learning about improvising, just introducing them to that blues scale. And I have different exercises with the jazz language thing that works great for a middle school band with this chart. So I love this as a first kind of improv.
So you're mentioning those exercises. If anybody wanted to reach out to you, you might share that with them?
Yes, I mean, I teach it over the Band Director Academy. I am working very hard to try and codify them all and put them out via I don't know how I'm going to put them out in a book or like YouTube, page. We'll see. It's happening soon. I'm determined to kind of get it done soon.
Okay. And the next arrangement is a Sammy Nesco arrangement. I've mentioned the Yasnitsky chart on it as well from the great Basie library, Shiny Stockings.
Oh yeah, this one I discovered this one not too long ago, and obviously what's great about this is Frank Foster, great tenor player that wrote many charts for the Basie band. This is like, I don't know, if I have to name one classic chart that everybody has to know and play is Shiny Stockings, and it's one of my favorite. I never get sick of it. The original, and then Mr. Foster wrote different arrangements of it later on with some really crazy writing for the saxophones. I was fortunate to see him with Bruce Williams playing lead alto and them doing this crazy soli that he wrote out later on. And I've been fortunate to play with the Basie band on this chart, and it's just like so much you can do with it and so many different ways to interpret it. And what's great about this arrangement, it's written by another Basie writer, Sammy Nestico. So he really doesn't, he makes it, tangible for younger students, and the range is great. I think it's in a different key. And he writes a different intro, which is really swinging. It's great, and it really, I think, it's an awesome chart for saxophone players, especially to kind of hear that voicing sound, that classic, spread out saxophone sixth sound that that is really predominant in the big band writing, probably due to Benny Carter. But this chart has that sound, and it's easy enough for the students to kind of get that feeling of the original chart.
Great. And then the last one we're not going to listen to, Una Mas, Kenny Durham, arranged by Paul Murtha, who's a great writer for young bands.
Yes, he is. I do a lot of his stuff as well. And this chart, I mean, it's a great chart. I mean, beginning to end. I mean, it's very simple. So he wrote a nice little shout chorus in it. Definitely, what makes this tune tricky though is even when you listen to the original, we always kind of go back, right? The way the tonality is kind of heard, it's a little tricky because it's not just a straight B flat blues. It starts, I think, like an F7 flat 9 to B flat, and then it does the same thing kind of equivalent to on the 4 chords. So, and there's a different kind of turnaround at the end. But as far as like introducing your students to like a Latin groove, this is great for that, adding auxiliary percussion. And I played a video of them on a snow day. We didn't have class, so we had to do a class on Kenny Dorham. And we talked about his sound and how he's like kind of an unsung hero of the bebop trumpet, and that he probably got more recognized after he passed away, which is not uncommon for jazz musicians. And we watched the video. There's very little footage of Kenny Dorham, but we were able to watch him on video. So it's a great way to kind of talk about that period of the music. And he was a trumpet player that replaced Miles Davis in Charlie Parker's, Golden Age Quintet. So important figure that, I'm just excited that my students know about Kenny Dorham.
That's awesome. So the first chart we're going to listen to is, I believe, a grade 1, Blues by 5, is an F Blues by Red Garland, arranged by John Barry. We've done this chart in my school, and I bet you a bunch of people have done it. It's a great little chart. So tell me what you like most about that Blues by 5 chart.
Well, it's after B flat blues, I like to go to F blues. So in that way, it really helps with the improvisation. Just kind of putting all that information that we did in B flat and putting it in F. And it's, another great, just straight ahead chart that's like, you listen to the original and they hear where it comes from. I think at the beginning of this chart, there's like sample rhythms, right? So if you're playing it, this happens each year. I'm like, okay, guys, we're going to start at this bar, this line. But of course, there's a couple kids that just start at that, the sample line. But yeah, it's a great chart, great vehicle to learn about the swing rhythm. And what I like about this one too, you should listen to the original, obviously, but it's a great way to teach jazz language for drummers. So because there's like a lot of little drum breaks that you can really kind of give them some simple Philly Joe language. Philly Joe Jones, who played with Miles Davis, quintet with Red Garland, and kind of get them to play those kind of fills on this piece. It's kind of fun to hear like all my middle school students, delving into Philly Joe Jones at such a young age, and maybe they don't even really know what they're doing, but I can kind of show them how to phrase it and where to put it. But yeah, great vehicle for the blues.
So the next chart we're going to listen to is a little bit harder. I think it's more in the grade 2.5 range, Jumping at the Woodside, arranged by the great writer Rich DeRosa. This is from the Count Basie Orchestra. Really, for me, in my thought, if you have a fairly strong rhythm section at this age, then it works really, really well.
Oh yeah, definitely. It's true. This is a great one for the rhythm section. And introduction to Basie Band, having the rhythm section play up front in what we call the American rhythm section, right, with the 4-piece rhythm section and the guitar chugging for Freddie Green style. It's a great vehicle in that way. And then, teaching them about rhythm changes a little bit and how to navigate that. Maybe that's not easy at a young age, but there's a great rhythm solos in this arrangement by Rich. I should call DeRosa. He was one of my professors, William Patterson, for a minute. I was there, and also another idol educator of mine, and as well as his father, Clem DeRosa, a legendary jazz director. But yeah, this is a great one. The tenor solo that's written in there is great, and what's great about this one is that it really everything from this arrangement is right in the history of the music, and is very similar to the original Decca Basie recording with Lester Young. And it's written in a great range. It's not too high, but it has that. It still has that build up. And if you know how to like kind of control the band, even a younger band, and kind of add those layers, with where the drummer's like kind of chopping wood, it's a nice build up too. It's a great chart.
Okay, let's listen to it. Here's Jumping at the Woodside, arranged by Rich DeRosa. Okay, the next chart we've actually featured before on other repertoire episodes, which have happened in the past. This is a Cannonball Adderley tune called "Sticks," which is cool because not only is it just like a fun groove, like that soul jazz kind of thing, but it's a 14-bar B flat blues. It's a blast. Right. Arranged by Mike Kamoff.
Yeah, and he does a great job, kind of capturing that energy that you hear on the original record. I think the original one is that live record. With I mean, he had a lot of live records, but I think it's just called Adderley Quintet Live or something like that. Or maybe it's Mercy, Mercy, Mercy. I can't remember the name of the record now.
I think it's on the Mercy, Mercy, Mercy album. I think.
Yeah, I think that was the first recording of it. Then he recorded again. There's another recording on a live record. I think it's called Money in the Pocket, and I can't remember where that gig is. A live gig, maybe in London. I can't remember, but oh yes, the energy on this tune is like, it's like a kind of like a straight eighth note kind of groove, but it's really funky, and the students love the melody, and there's a lot of fun hits that kind of teach your students about kind of playing tight at certain spots and really kind of getting the concept of the accent and really kind of ending those short notes together. And also, like you said, it's a B flat blues with like an extra tag at the end, which kind of gets students to hear. And I love that piano line because it's like the original Joe Zawinul like line that's written out. And yeah, we definitely listened to the original of this, and yeah, I love that. I learned this tune for my senior recital in college, and I played it with a great trumpet player, Jeremy Pelt, who ended up being my roommate. And, there's a lot of fond memories of kind of figure this tune out and play it. So I love bringing this to the students.
And what's great about it too is if you're looking for maybe a grade 2.5 chart that's really authentic, and your trumpet section's pretty strong. In the middle of this, they use the Nat Adderley cornet solo. A portion of it is like that. A little soli. Yeah. So, and I love it when there's transcriptions.
Yeah, that is great. I so love that he did that. And yeah, we ended up doing that with the trumpets. This year. One year I had a student just do it as a solo, but I like to do it as a soli too because it's Nat solo on that is so cooking.
And I will say, you're a saxophone player, I'm a trumpet player. I have very infrequently do I wish I played the saxophone. When I hear Cannonball solo on this original tune, that makes me want to play the saxophone.
Yeah, it's so infectious. It's so infectious.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's that recording or the one I'm thinking of in London where he ends I think Nat ends his solo with the work song. He goes boo 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 bee bee bee, and then there's a break, and then Cannonball plays the other half. Man,
I haven't heard that one. The one I heard is the one where Nat kind of plays the trill at the end, yes. And then Cannonball comes in with the trill at the beginning.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I'm going to send you that other one. It's just as cooking.
Love it. All right, let's listen to Mike Kamoff's arrangement. Here's "Sticks" by Cannonball Adderley. Okay, the next chart we're going to listen to is Flight of the Foo Birds, written by the great Neil Hefti, arranged by Peter Blair.
Yes. Yeah, what's great about this one is that it gets your trumpet players to play, and I think it's a cut mute. And it's the original chart to the Basie band that's on, I think, Atomic Basie is out. You can play that, and I've played that, and the range is not, it's not easy. But it's a lot of just unison trumpet. Everybody playing the melody, it's just a beautiful melody. And I think what makes this one great is I think it must be written down. I can't remember if it's like, I think the original is like an A flat. This is maybe an F, but it's way more accessible to young trumpet players. And trumpet players in the jazz band a lot of times are just playing hits, or they'll play the bridge. Mm-hmm. This is like, it features them. It's a great trumpet feature for them to play that melody, and all the little interludes, all that big band style like hits in the drums are there. And for me, it's always an opportunity to kind of teach those specific hits too. Like, I always tell the rhythm section that it's not, you have the hardest job. You have to do the most listening in a way, because your charts there's not, all the information is not there. So especially with the drums, they're going to have to really listen to the original and learn how to make these, play the shout chorus and set them up. And even the youngest, it's what's amazing about drums to me is that, even the youngest drummers, if they can see it or hear it, they can latch onto it pretty quick. And it just makes the band sound so much mature if they're kind of doing their homework. And this is a great chart to do that with, because of the shout chorus.
I haven't compared this one to the other. Isn't there like a Roy Philippe arrangement that's technically like a grade 1? I've never done. Oh,
you know what? They're both very good, and they're both very similar.
Are they?
Yeah, I think that might be. Yeah, they are. Because I've seen that one too, and I've heard that one. I think I just went with this one because it's what I had. It's what I have in the library. But I remember seeing and hearing that one too. It's also very good.
All right, so here's the Peter Blair arrangement of Flight of the Foo Birds, arranged by Neil Hefti. Well, Julius, thanks so much for giving of your time and all that. It is a Friday afternoon, and I know I've been teaching all week, so I know what your brain is kind of going through too, and I appreciate all the time. Final message you have for band directors who might want to reach out to you or get help with anything?
Yeah, please do. I mean, I would say, anytime, and, please reach out via my Instagram, jtolmusic, or you send me an email, and I'll give you my cell, and then we can, talk. I have so many directors reach out to me, and I'm very passionate about this, something I've dedicated my life to, so I'd love to help as many people as I can.
Well, so when you mentioned that, I think of Clark Terry, because Clark Terry always used to tell us the stories about when he was a kid in the 40s and 50s, they would ask for advice from the older cats, right? And they would always say, okay, when you play a G, make sure you wiggle your right ear, right? And then, or when you play this note, make sure you grit your teeth, because they were trying to do all these things to keep these other players down so they wouldn't compete with them, right? But you're right. Now, you're a fantastic jazz educator, but all these people who are great teachers now, they want to help people who don't know some of the things. So that's just a point I wanted to make.
I appreciate that. Yeah, it's about the music. If we can get more people involved in this music, I think the world will be a better place. So.
All right, so the last chart you put down here is more of a grade 3. It's called Jump by Wynton Marsalis, arranged by David Berger. Tell us a little bit about this chart.
Yeah, definitely probably more like grade 3. Not an easy chart. It's one of the harder ones. That's why I put it at the end of my list. But a very swinging chart. Great for, isolating the different sections in a big band. Everybody kind of is very much written kind of in the bassy style, but like almost like a, early bassy, like riff kind of tune in places. But there's a lot of great energy behind it. There's some mute, some plunger mute work that you can work on it too. I love working on the hi-hat sound, which is key, in the big band style for this one, trying to get that hi-hat. Getting my students to not think about the hi-hat foot the same way, which just kind of go with that same shape and open up the foot too much. And I show them that it really hardly moves. You just want to get that sizzle all the way through. Yeah, fun chart. A lot of not easy. And what's great too is the written solos in there. I think it's in the alto and maybe in the tenor saxophone. Great solos and a lot of great information language wise written in the solo. You don't see that in all these charts all the time. So it's really well written. And obviously it should be the same. Wynton's original version of Jump. It's pretty cool too.
Yeah. Love it, Julius. Thank you so much. Thanks for being here. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me, Kyle. It's really been a pleasure.
All right, everybody. Here's Jump, Wynton Marsalis, arranged by David Berger.
We sincerely appreciate you taking your valuable time and listening to the Growing Band Director podcast. Your students are very lucky to have a band director like you. If you have any suggestions for episode topics or think you have an area of expertise to share on a show with us, please reach out. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe. And if you want to help spread the word, please give us a 5-star review and tell your band director friends to subscribe as well. We're available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, our YouTube channel, and wherever you listen to podcasts. Thanks for listening to The Growing Band Director. See you next week.